Am I audible? Am I audible? Can anyone answer over here?
Yes, Praveen.
So guys, again, I'm so sorry. I had another meeting, another office meeting that again got extended. But as I said, from tomorrow it will continue on the same time, whatever the time that we have stipulated, which is 9 p.m. And will definitely continue at the same time. Had some unexpected meeting from the yesterday due to some production issues that we have to handle. So used to be a bit hectic day as well, and that's where it get bit delayed. Okay, so I hope you people are also able to see my screen as well. If yes, then we'll start with our session over here.
Yes.
Your screen is not visible, Praveen.
Is it visible now?
No, Praveen.
No.
Okay, okay. So I believe you should be seeing now. Just give me a minute. So I believe you should be able to see now.
Yes.
Yes. Now it's visible.
So this is Visual Studio Code, and we are in the operators part, right? So I am audible properly, and my screen is also visible. If any one of you can confirm over here, I'll go through it.
Yes, Praveen.
Okay, great. So again, I'll see very less voice. Okay. Is it audible properly for everyone, or for someone it is okay, for someone not?
Yeah, it's fine, Praveen. No issues.
Okay, great. So let's go ahead and see the next thing that we have to discuss in our session for the topic, which is which we are trying to discuss is an operators, right? Where we have discussed regarding a couple of operators yesterday, which is arithmetic operator, which does a mathematical calculations, and also we have done for some of the things, which is comparison operator, which basically does to compare the values and return the result in the form of boolean which is like either true or false. Okay, there we have also seen like what is difference between equal to, not equal to, which is equal to, and strict equality, which used to be one of our interview questions. Now let's move to the third part of the things, where we have like third part of the operator, where we have a logical operators. Okay, so logical operator is the third one which we have in terms of logical operator. As we talked about, a logical operator generally works on different expressions. So whenever when can we use comparison operator? Whenever we have to work with two different values, whenever we have to work with two different values to compare the values, like 10 is greater than 5, or some xyz is equals to xyz or not, right? Whereas logical operator works with the two different conditions, two different expressions. Okay, here in terms of that means two different comparison operator, or two different conditions that we have to check. What did we do over here is we have validated like 10 is greater than 5 or not, right? So this is one expression that we have written, which is 10 is greater than 5. Logical operator works with two different expressions. That means two different conditions. Whenever you make a decision depending on the two different expression that you are trying to perform, or two different values that you are trying to get, or two different conditions that you are trying to perform, at that point of time we can go for logical operator. Now what is the use of logical operator is, it will also return us a value in the form of in the form of Boolean itself. So it will also give us a value in the form of Boolean itself. But there are some kind of significance. What will happen is the logical operator basically will try to compare the two Boolean expression. Compare the Boolean expression. What is Boolean expression? The comparison operator that we have used. What is Boolean operation means? Boolean expression means, let's say 10 is greater than 5. Boolean expression is something that will return us a value in terms of a Boolean. Okay. Boolean expression means something that will return us a value in terms of a Boolean, and that is like comparison operator. Two different comparison operators if you try to use, that is known as a logical operator. That there we have to use a logical operator. Example, this and this, or this or this value. Okay, so sometimes in our test automation as well, you will have some kind of logic where, let's say, if you are trying to select a calendar that we have seen earlier, like whenever you are trying to select a date of a calendar, what do we validate over there? If the month is equal to so and so and year is equal to so and so, right? If the month is equal to so and so or year is equal to so and so. So those point of time we have to basically go for a logical operator. When you are trying to make a decision depending on two different conditions, that will give you there we have to use a logical operator. Okay, so there are three different types of logical operator are available. One is known as AND, which is AND operator. The same operator will always be a symbol, which is AND over here. Second will be an OR, which is also known as having a symbol as pipe symbol. How will you write a pipe symbol? Shift and then backward slash keyword. Shift and then backward slash keyword on your keyboard will type a pipe symbol over here. This is known as OR. And the third one in terms of a logical operator is having as a NOT operator. This symbol, whatever you see over here, is known as a NOT operator. Okay. Now, all the three things that you see over here have some kind of significance. So first one, and it will, so again, in terms of a logical operator as well, it will return us either a true or false value. In terms of logical operator as well, it will either return a true or it will return a false value over here. Now, when we use an AND operator, how do we use that? So let's see one by one over here for AND, OR, and NOT. The first one that we have is AND operator. What is the symbol for that? Is 2 times ampersand. Where will you get this symbol? That will be available on your keyboard, which is with the number 7. Okay. So what it will do is it will return true if both the conditions are true. As I said, like logical operator will also return us a value in terms of a Boolean expression itself. That means either true or false. So whenever we try to use an AND operator, it will basically return true if both of the expression are true, if both of the condition are true. Both of the condition are true. Okay. If any one of the condition become false, then it will return as a false value. So if you see over here, it says that it will return true if both of the condition are true, else it will return false. So what is in that? That means what kind of expression that will be validating? Like this is either a true or a false, and either a true or a false, right? So there will be different scenarios appear over here. Now, what could be the scenario? First, you are trying to check a condition. It will check a 2 condition. So probably one condition can give you a true value and true value. So whenever you are trying to check a condition will always either return us a true or return us a false value. Okay? So if both of the condition are true, in that case, this AND operator will return us a true as a result. AND operator will return us a true as a result. And in all the other scenarios, it will return us a false value. In all the other scenarios, what could be the scenarios? What could be the other scenarios? True. The first condition is providing us a true and second is false. In that case, it will return us a false value. First condition is false and second condition is true. So as soon as it sees that the condition first become false, it will automatically return false value. It will do not even check the second condition. In this case as well, when it sees like, okay, the first condition itself is false, it will not go and validate for the second condition and will return us a value as false. Okay, so let's see the example for all the type of scenarios that we have discussed over here. Okay. This is for first one, which is 10 is greater than 5 and 10 is greater than 6. Some random example I have taken over here. We know that in terms of logical operator, in terms of comparison operator, when we use this will return us a true because 10 is always greater than 5. Here as well, it is 10 is always greater than 6. So this will basically return us a true value over here. Let me, as per the definition that we see for the logical AND operator, it will return us true value only if both of the condition are true, both of the expression are true. Okay. In this case, if you try to see over here, this will return us a value as a true. This will return us a value as true over here in terms of a console.log. So again, try to go and check it out. You will see that tsx operators.ts, and here we can see that it has returned us a value as true. Why it has returned true? Because both of the condition are true over here. When you talk about 10 is greater than 10, at this point of 10, this becomes first value is true, which is 10 is greater than 5, and second value is also true, which is 10 is greater than 6. Okay. Now for the second condition, if you try to see, first value is true, which is 10 is greater than 5 is always true, right? And second value, we are saying that 10 is less than 6. Okay. That means we are trying to check whether 10 is less than 6 or not, which basically gives us a false value, right? So this condition becomes the second condition that we have, which is true and false, right? So whenever this type of situation will occur, AND operator, which is 2 times ampersand symbol, will return us a false value. Second, it is returning us a false value. Now, what is the third condition? The third scenario is the first condition itself becomes a false. So in this case, the third condition, if you try to see over here, it says that the third condition becomes false over here. That means we are saying 10 is less than 5. We know that this 10 is always less than 5. 10 is like 5 is always less than 10. That means this condition become false over here. As soon as the first condition become false, it will not even go and validate for the second condition, because to get the true value, both of the expression has to be true, and to get the false value by using an AND operator, any one of the expression has to be false, right? So as soon as it encountered that it is throwing us a false value, which is first condition, it will automatically return us a value as false. What is the scenario is false and true, which will also return us a false value. Only in the case of if both of the condition are true, then only AND operator will return us a true value. In all the scenarios, in all the other scenarios, it will return us a false value. So this becomes a false, which is 10 is less than 5 and 10 is less than 6. Both of the condition are false. So this scenario becomes false and false. And in this case, you'll see that it will return us a false value. Now, where can we use this logical operator? Logical operator we can use at the time of checking some kind of conditions. Better example is when you try to select a calendar, try to select a date from a calendar, there will validate month and year, okay, by writing some kind of conditions inside a while loop. Okay, by writing some kind of condition inside a while loop. Let me see over here. Just start sharing once again. believe this had selected only one application. I hope you're now able to see my screen, right?
Yes, Praveen.
So if you see an example that we have over here for the calendar selection, right? So here, if you see, we have used, this is one condition and this is second condition. So whenever we have to use two different conditions, and depending on that, if we have to make some kind of decision, at that point of time, we can use logical operator, either and or operator. Okay, so and will always return us either a true or false value. If it is true, then in that case, if it is like if both of the condition are true, then in that case it will return us true value. In all the other scenarios, it will return us a false value. Okay. Now, second situation, second type of logical operator that we have is or, which displays as a two-pipe symbol. So in terms of or, as the name itself suggests, or, that means either this or this. Okay. So in this case, it is bit opposite to the and. It will return true if any of the condition is true. It will return true if any of the condition is true. Else, if both of the condition are false, then it will return us a false value. So or logical operator will only throw us a false value when both of the condition are false. When both of the condition are false, then only it will return us a false value. Else, in all the other situation, in all the other scenarios, it will return us a true value, which is opposite to and, where and will only return us a true value if both of the condition are matching. Other than that, in all the other scenarios, it will throw us a false value. Okay. Example, if you see, again, some random example that I have taken over here, which is 10 is greater than 5, which we know that this scenario is true over here. Or, which is pipe symbol, and then 10 is less than 6. What happened in this case is, or let's say I'll just say it as 10 is greater than 6. So true is true or true. Now, as per the definition, if you see, it says that it returns if any of the condition is true. So as it starts executing this, it will say that, okay, 10 is greater than 5. So this becomes true. So as soon as this is true, this will not, because if any condition is true, it will return us a true value. So in this case, it becomes true or true, which will, whenever you have two different scenarios and you are trying to use and operator, or operator will validate the condition. If first condition itself becomes true, then it will not even go and validate for the second condition. Okay. So this case, you will see that it is returning us true value for the first one. Okay. Now, let's see the second scenario that we have, where we have 10 is greater than 5 and second is false over here, right? So this is a scenario where this becomes a true, the first value becomes a true over here, and this becomes a false over here. Okay. So in this case, if you try to see, this is first scenario is, or first condition is true and second condition is false over here, right? So even in this case, it will start validating, okay, the situation or the condition is true over here. So as soon as it sees that the first condition itself is true, the second condition will not even validate it. This will return us a true value again. So true and then true. What is the third scenario? Third scenario is false and true. So this becomes a false, which is 10 is less than 5, which is always false, and 10 is greater than 6, which is always true. So first condition will be evaluated and this will become a false. This will return us a false value. As it is false, then it will go and try to validate for the second condition. So second condition in this case will return us a true value, right? In this case, will return us a true value. So as per the definition, it will again return us a value which is true, because one of the condition is true over here, right? So this will again return us a value as true. Now, what is the last condition where it will throw us a false value? Or operator, or basically or a logical operator will only throw us a false value or will only give us a false value if both of the condition are false. If both of the condition are false, then only it will return us a false value. So what is meant by that is 10 is less than 5 over here, which is false. 10 is less than 6 over here, which is false. So as soon as it starts executing this will check first condition, which is false. If it is false, then it will go and validate for the second condition, which is again false, right? So if both of them are false and false or false, then it will return us a false value over here. In this case, this is the only scenario where it will return us a false value in terms of an or logical operator. Okay. Now the third type of logical operator that we have is a not operator. Okay, third type of logical operator that we have is a not operator. Not is just to reverse the value from true to false and false to true. So not operator is having a symbol as this one. Where will you get this? On the number one.
Praveen,
Number Mhm. Yes.
so in the OR operator, let's say first condition become false. So let's consider the third example. So it will check for the second condition as well.
Yes. Why it will check for the second condition? Because it says that it has to, if there are any of the condition becomes true, then it will return us a true value, right? If any of the condition is true, then it will return us a true value.
Oh,
So in this
okay.
case,
Okay.
first become false. So it will try to check,
So
okay, whether second is true or not. Okay, but
okay,
in
got it.
these,
Thanks, Praveen.
right, but first and second scenario, it will not go and evaluate for the second condition, because here itself it receives the true value, so it will automatically return us a true value. Okay, now the third one that we have is a not operator. This symbol you will get on the number 1 on your keyboard. Number 1. How you have to write it? By using simply shift and then click on number 1. What it does is it will basically return true if the condition is false, else it will return false. Now what is meant by that is, if the condition is true, then it will make that true to false, and if the condition is false, then it will reverse that false to true. Now how do we use this example? Not and then 10 is greater than 5. That means not true. When we say something not true, that means that is a false value, right? So we know that this will return us a true value. 10 is greater than 5 will always return us a true value. But in general, it will become not true because we have given a not symbol over here. Right? This will be mostly utilized in terms of a while loop where we try to write some kind of condition. That means unless and until the condition become true, keep on iterating the loop. Unless and until the condition become false, keep on iterating the loop. Okay, so even in the loop concept, all the types of loops will use a condition, and there the condition always will throw us either true or false value, right? There it will be utilized as a not operator. So not operator, what it does is it basically reverse the value from true to false or false to true. What is in that? That means whenever we try to check a condition, if the condition is true, that becomes not true. Not true means false. If something is not true, that means that is a false. If something is not false, that means that is a true over here. So this is a false statement, which is 10 is less than 5. And as we have used a not, it will simply reverse the value from false to true and true to false. So in this case, again, if you try to see over here, this gives first as a false because it says that not true. 10 is greater than 5 is true, but we are saying not true. And here it is false, so we are saying not false over here. Not false means true. So not will reverse the value from true to false and false to true. Okay. So that's basically about the logical operator, which are like and, or and not. Any question over here for this logical operator that we have seen? Real-time example is that one only, like when you try to compare like example, like when we try to check with a calendar selection, at that point of time you will be using when you are trying to make some kind of decision. That means, let's say if you are working with any kind of university application, right? How they will decide the grading system over there, that again depends on two different scenarios. Whether, let's say, marks is greater than 70 and again it is less than 80, then that falls under a B grade and so on. Akash, are you able to see my screen or how is it? Conditional operator, do you want me to repeat? I'll do that at the end of our session today. I'll try to do that. Yes. Let's go ahead, Akash.
Sir, your screen is blurry. Your screen
Is it visible now?
no, sir. It's blurry.
Not visible? Others, are you able to see my screen?
Visible, but it's not a clear.
Others as well? Can someone answer over here?
Only sometimes, Praveen.
Sometimes it's not.
And your voice is also breaking.
Voice also breaks. Okay, let me see that. Please repeat conditional. Okay, your voice is breaking.
Praveen sir, I lost you for a while and got you back. Like, maybe you can hear me okay, right?
Yes, I can.
Yeah.
If else statement will cover in the next. It's clear from yes. Okay. So generally, when we talk about a conditional operator, right? So conditional operator will also conditional operator is basically a comparison operator. So conditional operator will also work for validating the condition, right? Comparison, validating the condition. What kind of condition? Whenever we try to compare, let's say, string value or let's say numeric value or any kind of value, if you are trying to compare with, at that point of time, we can use a condition operator, right? I believe you're talking about conditional statement. Statement will part will come into our next session. Not
Yeah,
next session.
I was confused between the conditional operators and statements. So statements is if else, right? So operators is something which you're showing now, right? True,
Right,
true, false.
right. So operators will work for the calculation part, will work for validation part, will work for the condition part. Okay. Statement is again two different things.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay. So let me see what is happening. I believe my internet is working good. It's comparatively better and close to 200. Okay. Okay, stop me in between if you feel like my voice is not hearable or if my screen is lagging over here. Not lagging. Okay. Now we'll move to the last operator that we have is known as assignment operator. Most of the time we have already used this, which is known as equal symbol, which basically a single equal symbol, which help us in assigning the value to a variable. Equal, which is assignment operator, will help us in assigning the value to a variable. Now, what is meant by that is basically it will work with assignment part, right? It will also work with some arithmetic operator as well. Okay, so what is the use of assignment operator is assignment operator will assign the value to a variable. Example, let's say let x equals to 10. Okay, so what happened in this case is we have assigned a value to a variable. What is this variable? The variable is x over here. What is the value that we have assigned is 10. So how did we use this? Let x equals to 10. Let x equals to 10. So what did we do over here in this statement is we have created a variable by using a let keyword, which is a variable name is having an x, and we have assigned a value which is 10 over here by using an assignment operator which is equals to. By using an assignment operator, we have assigned the value 10 to a variable x over here. Okay. If you declare it 2 times x, 2 times equal symbol, that means here we are trying to compare if x equals to 10 or not. This is not an assignment operator. Assignment operator is a single equal operator. Okay, single equal, which used to assign the value to a variable. Okay, now I said that it also works with the arithmetic operator, right? It basically works with arithmetic operator as well, which is having a symbol as plus equal to, minus equal to, multiplication equal to, division equal to, division and then equal to. So what is meant by that? Let's see over here. Example. So when we try to say plus equal to, right? Plus equal to means this will add the value. This will add the value and will add and assign the value at the same time. Example, when we say it as, let's say x plus equals to 10, right? We say it as x plus equals to 10. So let's say we have defined a variable let x equals to 10, right? And then when we talk about it, this like x plus equals to 10, right? Plus equals to 10, whenever we try to define in this way, this becomes x equals to x plus 10. That means it is adding the value to the variable that you have defined, which is x over here, and at the same time, whatever the resultant value will be there, that is being assigned to x itself. So this becomes x equals to x plus 10. Now at this point of time, if you try to print console.log x over here, right? So this generally becomes like this. First time we have printed x, which is, when we printed x, it is the assigned value, which is 10 over here. But when we try to use a plus, that means addition and assigning the value, addition, and that means plus and assigning the value. At this point of time, what it does is it added the value, whatever the value that we have written at the right side, it added and assigned at the same time. So this becomes like this, which is x equals to,
नीचे guys.
this is equals to x. This is equals to x equals to x plus 10. That means at this point of time, this becomes x equals to 10 plus 10. And whatever the resultant value will be there, that will be assigned to the x value that we have defined as a variable. Okay. Now in the same way, we have minus equal to as well, right? We have a minus equal to as well, right? So let's say the current value of x is 20 over here, right? The current value of x is 20 over here. So when you say like x minus equals to 5, right? X minus equals to 5 means x equals to, at the same time it will do the operation, which is minus and assigning the value. So this will become x minus 5. Okay. X equals to x minus 5. In this case, this will become x equal to x minus 5 whenever we write x minus equals to 5. That means it will subtract and assign the value at the same time. From where it will subtract the value? The value that we have for the x, the current value that we have for the x, from there it will subtract whatever the value that you have given over here, and at the same time, the resultant value will be assigned to the x over here. Now in this case, you'll see the x will give us the value which is 15 over here. Okay, 10 is from here, 20 is from here, and then 15 when you try to do this, which is, I believe like we have already printed over here. Yes. So when you try to do this over here, then we'll see that it is returning us a value as 15. In the same way, it works for the multiplication and division as well. So x multiplied and equal to 2, that means this will become like x into 2 over here. So whatever the resultant value is there, currently x is 15, so it will multiply that 15 to 2. And then it returns a value as 30. Divide equal to means it will divide the x to the number 3, and whatever the resultant value will be there, that it will return and assign to x over here. Okay, and so it returns us a 10, which is 30 divided by 3. Okay, so assignment operator works basically help us in assigning the value to a variable. You can assign the value in a different way. You can basically try to assign the value by using, like, let's say x equals to x plus x plus equals to 10, or directly x equals to 10. So when you say like x plus equals to 10, that means it becomes x equals to x plus 10. That means whatever the resultant value, or whatever the value, current value that we have for x, the 10 will be added to x, and at the same time it will assign the resultant value to the x over here. And for others as well, it works the same. Okay, that is known as an assignment operator. Any question over here from all the types of operator that we have discussed? Whoever I have enabled, given you the access to talk, please mute yourself, and whenever it's necessary, you can unmute yourself. Okay, so any question from operators?
So Praveen, one question from the assignment operator. Like we have declared x as in 10 at the first time, right? So whenever you are printing, I mean, after doing certain operations, whenever you are, so let's say, am I audible?
Yes, you are.
Hello.
Yes, you are audible.
Okay, so can you please go? Okay, can you please go to that assignment operator?
Okay.
Yeah. So at the very first, we have declared x as in 10. I mean, the first value of x is 10, right? In the first part, we are doing an summation of that value with the 10. So it will become 20, right?
Right. Yes.
And in the second line, we are doing a minus from x. So why it will be, uh, consider value of x as in 20, not 10. So because we have declared x as in 10, right?
Right. So we have declared x as in 10, but the resultant value at this point of time for the x is 20 over here. Right. So whatever the latest value will be there, that will be considered. I believe that you got confused. So what you can do is you can simply declare, let's say, y equals to, let's say, 23 over here, example. And then when you say it as y minus equals to 5, this will give you the value as 18 over here. Because what happened in this case at this point of time is, whatever the value that you had declared initially, you have initialized with some other values over here. So this value that you declared is not the other variable. It's the same variable that you have declared over here. So
Okay.
when you come to this point or this line, which is 179 over here, at this point of time, what you are trying to do is you are trying to reinitialize the value. This is not a separate variable. You are reinitializing the value for this x. So here the original value of x becomes 20. So in the next line, when you try to go for multiplication, this will consider the value as 20 itself, not the initial value that you have declared, because till at this point of time, the resultant value of the x becomes 20 after adding the 10 to the x. But if you declare it as another variable, then this will become another variable. And then this will not work. So let y equals to do something over here. Let's say I'll show you it. I'll show you as well. So let y equals to y plus equals to some value. If you have already declared y, let's say let y equals to 10. Okay, and then you are saying y plus equals to 10 over here. Okay. In this case, what will happen is I will comment it. I'll also use x over here, and I'll also use x over here. At this point of time, what will happen is the resultant, the x value is still 10 over here, right? The x value is still 10 and it has not been modified. So at this point of time, this will return us a 5 as a result, because it is taking the value from the original value that we have declared as a 10. So at this place, we are getting the value as 5
Yeah.
because it referred to the 10. But in the next line, when you go over here, our resultant value have been changed. That means x have been reinitialized to a value as 5. So here, this x will become 5, not the x that we have declared over here, because we have already reassigned the value to x.
Okay.
Okay. And that is why it takes the
Got it. Thank you.
recent resultant values. Any other question in terms of
Thanks,
operators?
Praveen.
Great. Any other question from anyone else over here? Okay. Okay, so now let's move to the next topic that we have in our course, which is like in terms of a course content that we have is, we have completed the operators part. So then let's move to the statement over here in our session today. Okay. Now let's again create one file over here, which I'll give the name as statements. Statements is also known as conditions. Statements.ps. So statement is also a condition. What is condition? Which is also known as a conditional statement. Okay, conditional statement means whatever the statement that we try to use, it will try to validate whether the condition is true or false. If the condition is true, then only it will try to execute some lines of code. If the condition become false, then it will not try to execute some other things. Okay, so statements are conditional statements as well. Now there are different types of statements that are available, which is same in all the other programming languages as well, along with the syntax. It is similar in all the programming languages. Operators also that we have seen are similar in all the other programming languages. Okay, now there are different types of statements in JavaScript and TypeScript. Whatever till now we have discussed are both same in JavaScript and TypeScript. Okay. Statements are also same not only in JavaScript and TypeScript but in other programming languages as well. Okay, so there are different types of operator that we have in JavaScript and TypeScript. Starting with first is normal if statement. Normal if statement. Okay. Normal if statement is a first statement that we have. Second that we have is known as if else statement. I'll talk about each and every thing in detail. Second is known as if else statement. Third that we have is known as if else if. If else if statement over here. Fourth generally goes for a switch statement. Okay. And then fifth that we used to have, but nowadays we do not use that, is known as nested if else. Nested if else statement.
Praveen sir, is this the same for all programming languages?
All
like
programming
if
languages. Yes.
okay.
It is same for all the programming languages. If any one of you are already aware of, already familiar of, you can probably check the other things. But if you like still would like to stay in the session, you can stay. You might learn something or other things, because if you it is again my experience that whenever you go through the similar concept multiple times, every time you will come to know with some or other things as a new part, right? So if else or the statement are same in all the programming language and similar type as well, along with the syntax. Okay, now we have different types of statement, starting with a normal if statement. Then we have a if else statement, if else if statement, switch statement, and nested if else statement, which we generally do not use in any of the conditions. Mostly either we'll be using if else statement or we'll be going for a switch statement in terms of a test automation. Okay, so starting with the first one that we have is if statement. So what is the use of if statement is, if statement will, all the type of statement that we are trying to declare over here will validate a condition. Okay, will validate a condition. If the condition is true, then it will go inside that particular block and will execute the code. Okay, let me show you the syntax and then we can talk about what is the syntax over here is. Syntax is, let's start it with if keyword, then it will take a condition, and it will take a condition, and if the condition is true, then it will go inside the curly braces. Okay. If the condition becomes true, then it will go inside the curly braces, which is, write it like this so that it will be like that. And if the condition is true, then whatever the code that we write over here inside the curly braces, whatever you write it inside the curly braces is also known as a block of code. It is also known as a block of code. What is meant by block of code? Block of code means something that you see inside a curly braces is known as a block of code. Now, this is the syntax for normal if statement. This is the syntax for normal if statement, where we have to start it with a if keyword and then start writing a condition. It will also take a condition over here. Whatever the condition that you provide, if this becomes a true, then whatever we have written inside the curly braces will get executed. If the condition is true, then it will go inside the curly braces and execute the lines of code. If the condition is false, then in this case, nothing will happen. If the condition becomes false, then in this case, nothing will happen. That means none of the code will be executed over here. Okay, now what is meant by that? And where can we use this kind of scenario? Does it helpful? Yes, this is helpful and this will be helpful sometimes. So what happened is, let's see an example. So we'll say it as, let's say if, and then let's say 5 is greater than 1. So some kind of condition, any kind of condition you can try to write over here, like two strings are same, or let's say if the element is displaying on the page at the time of test automation. You can say like if the element is displaying on the page or if the element is available on the page, right? So at that point of time, you can simply say it as if some condition and then write a block of code. Okay, inside the block of code, I'm just trying to write simple console.log, which is 5 is greater than 1. 5 is greater than 1 over here. Okay, some dummy code that I have written over here. Now in this case, what will happen is, as soon as it start execution, right? As soon as the code start executing or execution over here, this will go and check whatever the condition that we have written over here. So it will say, okay, this is an if statement where we have to validate the condition. What is the condition? 5 is greater than 1. Yes, the condition is true. Then it will go inside the curly braces, and whatever we have written inside the curly braces will be performed some kind of actions. Okay. In this case, again, when you try to execute this, let me again clear it out here, and then we can write is statements.ps. Okay. So you can see that it has printed as a value which is 5 is greater than 1. Right? It has printed as a value which is 5 is greater than 1. Right? Now, what if the condition becomes false? what if the condition become false? Once the condition become false, that means it will ignore all the codes after that. Let's say if we say it as, let's say 0 is greater than 0, 0 is greater than 1, we know that the condition is false over here, right? If the condition become false, then it will not go inside the curly braces and nothing will be printed in this case, or nothing will be, nothing the action will be performed in this case. If you see over here, it does not print anything because the condition become false, so it did not go inside the curly braces or a block of, right? So this is a simple statement. If the condition becomes true, it will go inside a curly braces. And this is what happened in all the type of statement that we have over here. Okay. Now, where can we use this simple if statement? So there can be, sometimes there can be a situation inside your code that there will be two types of functionality. One, when you let's say when you click on some element, right, it will open two different situations where in one case you have to simply, let's say, select a product, and in second case, let's say on the same application, in the second case, let's say in a simple way, I'll try to explain. So every one of you might be using an e-commerce website, right, or e-commerce app. What happened is when you try to search for a product, right, there'll be two different options. One, you can select a category of a product, or two, you can directly search for a product, right? One, in both of the case, the application will be same, the page will be same. One where you can search for the product, and second where you can select the category for the product and then search for category of the product, and then you can search for the product inside that, right? So in this condition, when you are trying to write the two different test case, one is for directly searching the product and second is for selecting the category, and then you are trying to then you are trying to select the or search for the product over there. Now in that case, this normal if statement will be helpful. So what you have to check it, if the category is available, then go inside the curly braces and select the category. And after that, the same code will be applicable over here for searching for the product as well. If the category is not available, in that case, it will not go inside the curly braces. So other code that we have written after the curly braces will start executing, right? So these are a condition where we can utilize normal if statement. Okay, when you are trying to check two different, like similar functionality having in a two different way, there it will be useful to validate with the normal if statement, because it checks the condition. If the element is available, then click on this. If the element is not available, then perform the other action that you are trying to perform. Okay, again, if you try to write console.log some values over here, let's say example this one, this will be printed over here. Even the condition is not true, the next statement will be printed over here. Whatever you are trying to print, that will be printed over here. Okay. Now this is where you are just trying to handle a situation, handle a scenario depending on one condition. Okay. Now there can be a situation that, okay, if this condition is true, then try to do some kind of operations. If this condition becomes false, then try to do some kind of operations. So there will be a situation like, let's say a layman term, like when you go for an interview, there will be two different situations. One, you might get selected. Second, you might get rejected, right? So what will happen? The both of the scenario we have to take it up. One is if I get selected, probably I'll join in that. If I get rejected, then I'll search for some other jobs, right? So that is the similar condition applicable over here in terms of the second type of statement that we have, is known as if-else statement. If-else statement. What will happen in terms of if-else statement is it will also validate the condition. But here in this case, for the false condition, we do not have any action that we are trying to perform. But in terms of if-else condition, there will be one else block which will say that if the condition becomes false, then what do you want to do? Okay, if the condition becomes false, then what are you trying to do over here? In that case, the syntax is if, then it will take a condition, and then we'll also have a else block of code over here. Okay. Now in this case, if you see what we have in the syntax is if and then else block. If will take, always if statement will only take the condition. Always if part will only take the condition. Else will not take the condition over here. Okay. So if, then it will take a condition, will validate if the condition is true, will go inside the curly braces. If the condition become false, then what we have to do? If the condition become false, then it will go inside the else block of code. And whatever we have written inside the else block of code will be executed over here. Okay. In the previous scenario, we have seen when 0 is greater than 1, which is a false condition, nothing happened printed over here, right? Now let's see in this example over here. What we are saying is in terms of a definition, let's talk about the definition as well. What is the definition of if else if block is? If else if block will try to check the condition. If the condition is true, then the code inside the if block will be executed. Okay. If the condition becomes false, if the condition is false, then the code inside the else block of code will be executed. I'll just write it as else over here and then if over here. If the condition is true, then the code inside the if block will be executed. If the condition becomes false, then the code inside the else block of code will be executed over here. Okay. Now what could be the example? Let's say if, I'll just say it as 10 is greater than, let's say 1. Some condition, some random condition I'm trying to write. And then I can say it as, okay, 10 is greater than 1. If 10 is not greater than 1, then in that case, if the condition becomes false, in that case, what do you want to write? Some values I've written. Or I'll just say it as condition is false. For this, I'll say it as condition is true. Condition is true. Okay. So if you see over here, the exactly similar things are there, which we have seen in terms of normal if, but there have been added one more block, which is else. What happened in case of if the statement is not true? What kind of action that you are trying to perform, right? So again, if you try to execute this, you'll see that in this case, it is saying condition is true because 10 is greater than 1, which is always true. Once the condition becomes true, then it will go inside the curly braces of if block, and this block will be executed. And once the condition becomes false, let's say 10 is greater than 15, which we know that the condition is false over here, right? So as soon as the condition becomes false, this will go inside the else block of code. This will go inside the else block of code, and whatever we have written inside the else will be printed over. Okay, so this will again be like this, which is condition false in this case. So it depends on the condition which block we have to execute in terms of if else if. Now where can we use this? So whenever you try to test, try to check a test case, let's say you have logged in successfully into the application, right? So then you will be writing a condition. If the dashboard is visible, that means login is successful. If condition, which is dashboard is visible or home page is visible, if home page is visible, really visible, then you will write it as login is successful over here. Else, if it is not visible, that means there have been some kind of problem in terms of login, and you have to take action over here saying that login is unsuccessful. Okay. Whenever you try to make some kind of decision on a condition, at that point of time, this if else statement will be helpful for us, either in terms of programming or in terms of test automation.
Praveen
Okay.
sir, just a quick question. Can I use it for the assertions? Like, is it possible? Like once I log in, right?
That is what I was trying to say. That is the assertion that I said, like if home page is visible, then test is passed. If it is not visible, then test is failed.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you for clarifying.
So that is basically the use of if else if statement. Sorry, if else statement over here. Any question in terms of this if statement and if else if statement? Okay. Okay. So any other question? Let me see if we have anything inside the Q&A part. So again, can you give a real-time example? It's clear for me. Yes. Okay. Okay. So what I'll do is I'll stop the session over here due to